So for my final project, I'm going to be talking about how do we solve the virtual housing crisis. I'm going to be talking about the popular game Final Fantasy 14 online, and it's kind of a big game. Over 27 million players. It just celebrated its 10th anniversary. It's kind of a big game. And when you put 27 million players into a digital space, you think you'd give them a house, and so of course they did. So you get a little house in the game, and what can you do with a house? Well, you can go decorate your house as much as you want. You can put stuff in it. It's just kind of cool to have your own little personal space, your own little personal area. But the problem is getting a house is the hardest thing in the world. So this would be an F Final Fantasy house, and the way you get a house is that you know that this house is about to be sold, or this house just got sold. And so it's about to go up on the market in like a day or two. And the second it goes up on the market, you can click on a sign and buy it, right? So here's the sign right here. You just look at the sign thing, but that's not the real sign. This is the actual sign. And the way you just get the house is you just click on the sign and you'd confirm that, yes, I want the house. Give it to me. But the only problem being is that in order to get this house when it's right up on the market, you have to get it right when it goes up on the market. The only problem being is that 27 million players. It's a kind of a big game. You're going to be competing with dozens of other people for this house, and so this is a average photo of what trying to get a house looks like here. And as we can see, there's like a dozen people crowded around the sign. You can't even see the sign. So many people are in front of this thing, and they're just all crowded around, waiting for the second this house drops on the market so they can get it. It's kind of this big celebration, like waiting in a line for a new iPhone or something, just trying to get it. And it's just absolute madness. Some people waited 6 days clicking to get a house. This guy waited 8 hours straight with several Diet Cokes and barely any sleep. And so people are real. They're dedicated trying to get the house they want because it's a big deal. It's a lot of bragging rights. Like, I got a house. What do you have? And so people have even succumbed to cheating to get a house. They get auto clicking bots where they just get a auto clicker, and so the mouse will just automatically click on the sign for you, so you can go away and not have to sit at the game for like 4 hours straight. But this is against the rules, of course, so people shouldn't do it. But people have done it, and people have gotten even more scummy. This guy put a giant mount in front of the sign, so this other guy can't even get to the sign because somebody placed their mount in front of it, meaning he just placed an artificial roadblock saying, "No, this is mine. You can't have it." And so people will do whatever they got to do to get the house. Uh, the reason for this is because housing is limited. Uh, so this is another game. My example would be Club Penguin. This is what we'd call instanced housing. It's isolated. It's in the middle of nowhere. And the game is only loading the house. It's only loading the igloo. It's not loading anything else. This is just its own private area. This is its own little loading screen. And that's how it works for this game. But for Final Fantasy 14, this is not instance housing. It's not isolated. It's built right into the game server. And so you enter an area, and everybody who walks through this area can see your house and maybe walk inside. And this is kind of a cool thing because you can just be walking around and see other people's houses and be like, oh, I want to make something like that. I want to build something like that. I want a house so I can do something like this. And then you can look around, and it's really inspiring just to see what people have made and what they've created with the tools they've been given. But the problem with limited housing is that, you know, there's only so much server space and people always ask for more housing. They only have so much server space. What are they going to do? There are apparently 391,680 houses. I could be wrong, but that's still a big number. But when you have about 27 million people fighting for this many houses, it can get kind of chaotic. So the question is, why would they do this? Why would they make a limited number of houses? Why wouldn't they just make infinite houses? Give everybody a house if they want one. Well, the reason they did this is to promote a sense of community. If you walk around and see people's houses in real time in an actual living, breathing neighborhood, it's kind of cool and it has this sense of realism to it that you wouldn't get if everybody just had their own little individual house you couldn't see. It's a very cool concept of trying to build a living, breathing digital world here. So this is what you'll actually see if you go up to the house placard, the little sign thing. You'll get a little notification, a pop up right here, and they said on the other slide, housing is ridiculously expensive and pricey. 50 million gil would probably take you, I don't know, like a month to earn in real life, and it's just I think that's absolutely ridiculous how competitive the housing system is, and then how much money they want for it. But so did they fix the housing problem? Because everybody is trying to get a house and people are clicking for hours and hours and on end trying to get the exact second when it hits the market. Did they fix the housing crisis? Well, sort of. They introduced the lottery system, as we can see here, selling via lottery. There's two participants. So the lottery system works is that players will go up to the house and they'll submit a ticket for the lottery. And then 5 days later, they'll see if they won. And if they won, they can claim their house. But let's say 100 people bet on a house, you have a 0.5% chance of getting that house, right? So if a lot of people bet on a house, you're probably not going to get it. But this is also better than the first come, first serve system that we had earlier, where there's 20 people trying to get something, and it was just a constant battle over it. Now, another problem with this lottery system is the wards. Wards 1 through 18 are FC only, which is free companies, and then 19 through 24 is personal, which is your own house. So the problem with this is that most of the housing is only going to groups. And if you don't want to be a part of a group, then you're pretty much stuck out of getting a house. So if you don't want to join a group, you're just out of luck. Now, why wouldn't people want to join a group to get a house? I'd say one of the main reasons that if you're in a group house, you can't really decorate your own house. You don't really own it. The the company does, and that kind of sucks because that's not really your personal property or just on the group's property, kind of like, you go to school, you're in the school's property. So people want their own house, and only 25% of the housing is for actual individual players, and people get kind of mad about this. There's kind of an argument to be made here that whether or not group or individual housing would be a better idea or not. Some people get mad and say that FC ward split is legitimately awful and that free company houses should not exist because they encourage personal solo FCs. So people would make two other accounts, and then they'd get those accounts to join the first account, and then they'd make a group that way. So pretty much you're one person with three accounts, and now you have your own little group, and now you can buy a house somewhere. So the game tries to incentivize people to get together to form a group to get a house. But what they really did was they just incentivized people to make multiple accounts so they could get a house. So it might have backfired on them. But there's also the instinct that if people really do want to experience the game with a group, with uh, other people, that this might be a better opportunity for them because they now have a group space to socialize in instead of just having multiple isolated spaces for people. One big space for a group would be a better idea. It could go either way, but it's an interesting argument. And so yeah, that's about it. See ya.